Hi, loves. So we've just entered the 5th month of her mystery school, Dark Mother, the month of Dark Mother. And one of the kind of sensibilities that we bring forward very strongly is the understanding that in darkness is where we restore power, and that there is a deep feminine presence and potency that lives inside of darkness, inside of the unknown. Right? And so for us, for the month of Dark Mother, we're going to be turning toward that, the nourishment and the wisdom of that. And I wanted to invite you into that movement with us for the next month. For obvious reasons, there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of unknown, there's a lot of things that we can't see. And it's really important to me that not only we remain nourished and that we all have a sense of some resource beyond circumstance that we can feel, some kind of comfort in the unknown that keeps us supple in the face of it. And also that, we have the sensibility, the ability, the willingness to enter quietude, silence, darkness, incubation, right? In order to reorient again and again to what's actually true for each one of us. Right, so I wanted to share a few pieces from our month of Dark Mother, just some things that you may consider. The first is the invitation to eat silence and absorb darkness. So one of the things that's true about Dark Mother and kind of that the deep feminine fecundity, the fertility, the dark matter, right? Is that it's substantial, right? When we talk about silence, we're not talking about just the lack of sound. Silence is like a nectar that you can drink, right? Or eat. And it will actually feed and fill in subtle parts of you that most likely have become very depleted in our extremely loud and fast-paced and rhetorical and contentious world right now. So eat silence. Take the time to not only get quiet, but to literally become aware that there is substance in the silence, right? That you can eat it, you can drink it, and it will actually nourish you in a place that nothing else will. Certainly no words will, right? It's the same way with darkness. Absorb darkness, right? When you go to bed, when you turn out the lights, when you close your eyes, when you welcome darkness into your life in any of these ways, literal darkness, i.e. dark, the dark, being aware that that is also a substance. There is substance in darkness. Close your eyes and take darkness in. And if you allow yourself, you'll see that it will soothe you, right? It will actually kind of soothe and quiet and still all the false lights, all the things that have been sparked or activated or are on kind of autopilot in your mind, in your neurology, in your being, right? Darkness is an actual substance that can be absorbed. When we turn toward Dark Mother in the school, this is what we're doing. We are turning toward the immanent, tangible, felt presence of she, right? Of God, of soul, right? But that with an awareness that it's nourishment, literal food for you. And why that's so important is that what's happening in our times of excess and chaos and unknown and hypervigilance and all the overstimulation is massive depletion underneath of that excess, right? That's where the exhaustion, despair, hopelessness, helplessness, isolation is coming from, right? In addition to the general situations that are creating that on a feeling tone level, on an energetic level, what's happening is that we are the deeper reservoirs in our being, right? The ones that can only be fed by slow time, by silence, by darkness, right? By wisdom. They're empty, they're dry. And so we lose our root and we become more and more afraid, right? And less resourced. So I encourage you, my first invitation to you is to eat silence and absorb darkness, and to really just play with that simple thing in your world. Like, treat silence and darkness like the substantial nourishments, nectars that they are for you. And I have three points. So I hit my wall yesterday. So I mentioned in the email that there's this thing, and in the Queen's Command, which is the second year of her mystery school, we kind of go deeper into Dark Mother and shelter. And what we say in there a lot is befriend your weariness, follow her to the deep well, right? So there's a way that we are coming to actually befriend our weariness, our exhaustion, our helplessness, our hopelessness, our confusion, our isolation. We're befriending that and actually following it to the fallow, right? These are fallow states. These are states that don't have a lot of generative life to them, right? But they have a place in natural law. The fallow always gives rise to the fruition, which always comes back into the and fertilizes the fallow, right? So we want to befriend this in us, partly because your weariness needs you to follow her to a place of restoration rather than to resist her and go have another coffee or have another kind of like contentious conversation with someone or try to keep creating your next business or whatever. She's trying to help you. She's trying to tell you, stop. It's time to restore and then come back to those things, right? So I want to speak to that process because, I hit my wall yesterday in a serious way. I went to bed at noon. I've never done this before. I went to bed at noon and I didn't get up until 9 today. That's 21 hours in bed, right? And I ate a lot of silence and I absorbed a lot of darkness, and I just closed the doors to all stimulation, all of everything. And I had to be honest because the only thing that was really alive and true in my whole being when I listened was like, I don't care about anything. I want everybody out. Leave me alone. I don't care. I felt completely defeated, right? These are fair states to encounter at times in life, and I was really in one. So I kind of was in it and also witnessing myself in it because that's what I do. And I learned a few things that I want to share with you, because what comes up a lot for the women in the school when I invite them to befriend their weariness or to turn toward Dark Mother and really allow themselves to be comforted, allow themselves to be nourished. What comes up often is this fear, though, of like, well, but if I just give in to my weariness, if I just give in to that, how will I ever come out again? Like, what if it just takes me down and I downward spiral, you know? And I think for many of us, we've experienced that downward spiral, and it's an honest concern. So I want to talk about what it means to befriend your weariness and follow her to the deep well, right? That is the kind of important piece, right? When you are going to go ahead and be real with the fact that you feel completely defeated, or that you feel you've got nothing left to give, or you feel so lost and so overstimulated that you can barely move. You know, if you're going to be real with that and follow it like what I'm inviting, so that you can actually restore, then you want to make sure that you're following it to the deep well, right? And I have three things that I learned yesterday by having a longer time in that kind of state than I've had maybe ever in that way. 3 things that will help you to follow your weariness to the deep well rather than to get lost in her, right? You want to follow her and befriend her, not give her the keys to the car and just let her drive you all over, right? So the first thing is it's really important what you turn toward, right? That little bit of will force. So in my case, I went into my room, I closed the door, I curled up in bed, and in that I was just kind of giving up on the day, just letting myself give up on everything, right? However, I wasn't turning toward all the things I fear then. I wasn't turning toward all my complex thinking, and I wasn't going into my room and going to ruminate for the next like 4 hours and just kind of stew in all of like the things that don't feel good. It was very intentional that I was doing that in order to turn toward what nourishes me, right? To turn toward the deeper well. And even though, that is a point of will force, that is you directing your compass in that moment. So I just want to highlight that you deciding what you will turn toward as you are giving way to your weariness, as you are going ahead and just giving up for a minute, which is very much a key to surrendering often, actually. And you're just giving way. If you want to make sure that that doesn't mean you're just going to spiral downward and lose everything, then follow your weariness to a place of nourishment, right? You are letting her take you to a place where you will actually restore, because weariness knows how to get there. If you resist weariness and you have another coffee and you do all the things, then she can't take you to where she knows you need to go, which is to the deeper well, where you can drink silence, where you can absorb darkness, right? Where you can come closer to your true nature again. So know what you're turning toward. Point your compass, right? You're going to the deep well. The second piece is to remember that you are emptying, that is like the process, that's the movement. When you turn toward weariness, or you follow your exhaustion, or even just your disillusionment, or your sense of isolation in the middle of all this contention, when you follow that and you just kind of give up, and you let that feeling lead you to something deeper and more true. Remember that the process of getting to that place is a process of emptying. You're not trying to fix. You're not trying to fill up with the good. You're not trying to do anything really, but you are emptying, right? You're going to have to empty your being. Silence will help with that. Absorbing darkness will help with that. Essentially, what it's going to take is some time. It's going to take no stimulation and no responsiveness, right? Nothing pushing or pulling on you, so that you can actually still your waters enough to feel your true nature, to just feel yourself, right? And to deepen so that you can touch what comes from the deeper well, what you really need, what your weariness is really needing, right? What that sense of isolation is really needing, which is the embrace of your own presence, the embrace of the bigger hands, right? So just remember that you are emptying out, and that it may take some time, right? It took me 21 hours, and that was the truth. However, it doesn't necessarily have to take you that long, but it's going to help if you know that that's the actual process, is to empty, right? Everything you take in life, you're going to have to digest. So whether it's good, whether it's bad, it doesn't really matter. Everything you take in is going to need some digestion. So be mindful of how much you take in, and recognize that at certain points in time, you're going to have to integrate and absorb and assimilate everything that you've taken in, right? That's just basic self-care. So following your weariness is often a call to empty out for a minute, to rediscover yourself, so that there's some authenticity in what you're actually doing, right? Deeper authenticity. The final thing that I would say about befriending your weariness in a way that will actually bring you back into fruition again in an even more resourced place, is to really trust and listen to your body and what comforts her, right? We work a lot with this in Dark Mother. She is comforting. She's here with you, right? This is deep, feminine, immanent presence. She is the warmth, right, of the sun. She is the the comfort and the weight of your blankets. She is like the nesting in your bed. She is the door closed, saying, none shall enter here. My daughter is resting, right? She is repairing. She is in sanctuary and she's under my protection, right? So you want to feel into, really trust your body and what comforts you. Don't fight that, right? And it means, on one hand, it can't be stimulating, right? So maybe what often comforts you is something like watching a movie or something. I don't know. But the idea of following your weariness to the deeper well is that you do kind of step away from all sorts of stimulation. That doesn't mean, I listen to Yoga Nidra. I just listen to some of my own meditations. Like I worked with things that kind of brought me inside and brought me into the moment and kind of helped me to feel what was moving through my being so it could gradually settle, right? But trust your senses. Your senses, this holy body, and how she can be met, right? These are holy gifts, right? And, in the way that I've been taught, the senses are a doorway into the present moment. So we have all these mindfulness practices, and their goal is to bring us into the present moment where we can access a deeper level of peace, deeper level of clarity and acceptance, right? All these things. From a deep feminine perspective, the senses are doorways into that. They are doorways into the present moment. I feel the warmth here. I'm here. And I'm warm. I feel the warmth. I feel the weight. I feel the comfort. I taste the tea. I taste the apple. Right? You are allowing your simple turning towards comfort to be a mindfulness practice. Right? To be a bridge into the present moment where you can actually access the peace and presence that you need, right? So you're not attempting to bypass the body, and I think that's important, right? Because at least in our 5th month here with Dark Mother, we're not working with Heavenly Mother and the Transcendence. That comes later, 8th month. But 5th month here, we're working with Dark Mother and the immanence. She is the embrace. She is what comforts you. Literally, she is here, touching you, holding you, right? So that's what I would offer to you, because I think that, well, first of all, I think hitting the wall is inevitable. And the more of an alliance that you can have with your limitations in a way, like when you hit the wall and you're like, no more, I have nothing left to give, or everybody get the fuck away from me, I cannot take another thing, right? These are not these are really important wisdom messages from your being. And if you're willing to follow them, they're going to take you to deeper wisdom, right? And then that's what you're going to bring forward into our world, into your life, into your families, right? And I want that for you. I want you to know that your weariness can be trusted as much as your fire, right? As much as your inspiration. No part of you is here to hurt you. All parts of you, all that moves through you, has a volition, at its root has a volition towards your good, right? It's just a matter of hearing what that is and working with it and training it to natural law. So the natural law we're working with here is the understanding that the fallow is what gives rise to fruition, which fertilizes the fallow, which gives rise to fruition, that there is a cycle that can be trusted, and that when you follow your weariness, you enter the fallow, but you do so with an awareness that you're going to a deeper well. And from that deeper well, there is fertility, there is new life that will spring, and you will fill in again in a way that you need in order to meet what's in front of you in your world, right? We're filling. In Dark Mother, we nourish, fill, right? Fill, drink deep, become resourced. resilient, embraced in all that you can't control and all that you cannot understand or can't know right now. I hope this has been resonant, relevant. Yeah. Sending you all very much love. I hope that you go away from this and eat some silence and absorb some holy darkness and really give yourself time to incubate, to consolidate, to insulate, to really pull back from all things and still your waters and feel yourself again. Feel yourself free of all these circumstances, all this push and pull, right? So that you don't forget yourself in the middle of all that's changing and all that's transforming. Blessed be.